On the day of my wedding, my wife stood on the rooftop in her pristine wedding dress. Tears streaming down her face, she asked me, if I die, will those who hurt me feel guilty? They won't feel guilty, but I'll make sure they die. I'll bury each one of them alongside you. If you still love me, if you can't bear to see me kill, then don't jump. I'll take care of you for the rest of your life. She wiped away her tears and forced a faint smile. I'm sorry, but I can't hold on any longer. Every day I'm alive, I just want to die. I looked at her, a wave of sorrow washing over me. I loved her. But if she jumped, I would understand. I accompanied my wife to try on wedding dresses. The first one was already stunning. As I looked at her, my heart raced. If the store hadn't been crowded, I would have hugged and kissed her right there. She shyly asked me if she looked good. A boy, brought in by an adult, overheard and mischievously shouted, "Wow, so ugly." My wife was upset, so I quickly praised her, saying she was as beautiful as a little princess and not to mind the child's nonsense. Only then did she smile sweetly and say, "Well, aren't you going to buy your little princess a cold milk coffee? It's really hot in this wedding dress." I foolishly agreed, running off to get her a cold milk coffee. That was the mistake that ruined her life. When I returned with the cold milk coffee, I saw a crowd gathered at the wedding dress shop's entrance from a distance. Many people had their phones out recording. Puzzled, I pushed through the crowd and saw my wife lying on the ground, her clothes disheveled. The girl I usually pampered like a princess was being pinned down by a woman. The boy from before stood beside her, raising his hand to slap her. As his hand struck my wife's face, the woman praised him. "Good job, sweetie," hit her back. My wife couldn't even defend herself, she just shielded her chest with her hands, crying and pleading, "Please stop recording, please." But the onlookers, eager for excitement, continued to film her. I lost my mind on the spot, grabbed a recording phone nearby and smashed it to pieces. I rushed into the store, pushing away the woman and hugging my wife tightly. She trembled in my arms, clutching my clothes with all her might. I burst into tears. Seeing her like that broke my heart into pieces. I quickly took off my own clothes and put them on her, asking what had happened, but she only cried, shaking all over, unable to say a word, clinging to my clothes. Eventually, it was the wedding dress saleswoman who told me what had happened. It turned out that after I left, my wife took off her wedding dress to try on the second set. The boy's aunt had also come to try on wedding dresses. While the aunt was doing her makeup and the mother was chatting with her, no adult was watching the boy, who was free to play in the store. That brat mischievously pulled open the curtain of my wife's fitting room. To ensure good lighting, many wedding dress shops set up their fitting areas in the main hall. When the fitting room curtain was pulled open, everyone in the store saw her undressed. Humiliated and enraged, she instinctively slapped the boy. As a result, the child's parent became furious, cursing her for being uneducated and hitting a child. She rushed up and pinned her down, teaching her child not to be afraid and to hit back hard if bullied. She fought particularly despicably. To prevent my wife from having a chance to fight back, she purposely tore off her clothes, exploiting others' sense of shame, doing the most shameless and crazy things. Countless veins magnified in my heart. I held her, my heart taking terribly. As a man who could accept the girl they protect being humiliated and beaten. Just imagining what she went through made it hard for me to breathe. The store owner had already reported the incident, and the police arrived quickly. The woman screamed and yelled at the officer, saying she would take her child to the medical center for a checkup, and if the child had any issues from being hit, she would not let us off. A police officer came to ask us about the situation, but my wife was still trembling in my arms, unable to say a word. Seeing her like this, I became increasingly worried and told the officer, "Can you take my wife to the medical center for a checkup first? She doesn't seem right." The woman immediately shouted, "What are you pretending for? Pretending is the most disgusting thing. When I used to breastfeed my child, I didn't feel anything when people saw me. How can a real woman pretend to be so pure?" I really wanted to rip her tongue out, but at this moment, all I cared about was my wife's safety. Ignoring the police officer beside me, I carried her out directly onto the police patrol car, and asked them to take us to the medical center first. At the medical center, the police said it looked like a mutual fight. This specific situation would have to wait for the injury report. I told my wife to see the doctor, but she was trembling so much she couldn't walk, so in the end, I carried her into the consultation room. The doctor was examining her, and as he did, he furrowed his brows and asked me to step outside. I could only take my worries outside, and soon the boy came out, not even with minor injuries. He threw himself into his mother's arms, covering his face and crying, saying he was in pain. The woman held her child, glaring at me viciously, repeatedly comforting the child. "Don't be afraid, darling. If anyone bullies you again, we will hit them back." I clenched my fists, biting my nails, praying that nothing serious would happen. After a while, the door opened, and the doctor came out, but my wife did not. He told us, "The situation is very complicated now. The patient is experiencing palpitations and rapid breathing, and her mental health is very unstable. I've contacted an ambulance to transfer her to the Central Medical Center. She might have post-traumatic stress disorder." I was stunned, and the woman was also shocked. She anxiously said, "Am I the only one who thinks she's exaggerating, in this day and age? What's wrong with being seen?" She was even wearing nipple covers. Is she so conservative that something like this gives her mental disorder, then she shouldn't come out and harm others? She didn't finish her sentence. Because I rushed to her, grabbed her hair, and dragged her into the restroom. The police officer nearby saw something was wrong and quickly tried to stop us, but I swiftly closed the door. Since the child was in his mother's arms, he was also dragged into the restroom. Someone was banging on the door outside, and she nervously said to me, "What are you trying to do? Are you really going to hit someone in front of the police? You." I punched her in the stomach, making her collapse to her knees. Clutching her belly, she screamed in pain. "He hit me. Police, how?" I grabbed her by the hair and dragged her to the toilet stall. The boy fell to the ground, crying and swinging his little fists at me. "Let go of my mom." I said coldly, "Then don't close your eyes." "What's your mom?" I yanked the woman's hair and pushed open the toilet stall door. She panicked and asked what I was going to do. I said, "I'm going to deal with you."